This video is designed to be interactive. That means that you will watch and at different points pause the video in order to practice new skills. After each pause, we'll continue with new content. The time points of these pauses are listed for you in the video description in case you have to start the video over at any point. All practice activities will be done within a worksheet that you'll need to download from the online course content within Schoology. We also recommend pausing the video if you need more time to engage with the text content shown. Take a moment now to read over the 3 goals we'll focus on during this course. So to reach our learning goals, we'll unpack these topics and questions. First, we'll talk about what are youth development practices and why are they important. In this conversation, we'll discuss transitioning from a youth services to a youth development approach, particularly the differences between those two approaches. Then we'll also talk about the positive impacts of a youth development approach. This will give us a foundation for part 2, where we'll talk about those specific sub-indicators of youth development, including their definitions, characteristics, and outcomes. We'll also talk about evidence-based practices associated with each sub-indicator, and then examples of what works according to youth and families for those sub-indicators. So the purpose of youth development is to help them to achieve full potential in life through empowerment, independence, and equity. A youth development approach focuses on a coordinated, progressive series of activities and experiences in school and the community, which help them to build on skills and competencies so that they become better prepared to meet the challenges of adolescence and adult life, including getting a job, seeking more education and training, living independently. And when we talk about building skills and competencies, our focus is on their social, ethical, emotional, physical, and executive functioning abilities. So you can see that youth development is really a holistic approach supporting the entire individual. So why is it important? Well, when youth have opportunities in school and within their communities to develop in these different areas, social, emotional, their ethical, their physical, and executive functioning abilities, they have a greater chance of developing strong self-determination skills. And we know that strong self-determination skills are also a strong predictor of success after high school, including getting a job, more schooling and training, and living healthy and independent lives. The foundations of a youth development approach include being strength-based, providing support and opportunities for youth to engage in decision-making, include interactions with a diverse range of peers in the community, focused on youth acquiring a sense of belonging through those interactions, youth participating in creative arts, physical activity, and health education, and ensuring that young people are supported in experimenting with their own identities. This approach culminates in youth with disabilities being self-advocates who know about their strengths and needs, are able to create a plan to accomplish goals, and have the skills to adjust their actions to ensure success in achieving their plans. A youth services approach, which is typically focused on intervening, first defines young people as clients. In contrast, a youth development approach, which is focused on empowerment, defines young people as leaders. A youth services approach focuses on professionals providing services to address individual problems and pathologies that young people have. So this takes the stance that barriers are within individuals. A youth development approach includes professionals empowering youth to improve their environments through self-knowledge, tools, and learning opportunities. This stance is that barriers are environmental and social, and individuals have the power to change them. Lastly, a services approach that Focus on intervening typically includes programming directed at individual treatment or prevention of deficits, while a youth development approach has programming built around the power of youth-adult community partnerships. The National Consortium on Leadership and Disability for Youth serves as a national youth-led information, training, and resource center. This center has identified 5 areas of youth development and leadership that are critical to post-school success. These 5 areas also correspond with 7 of the 8 areas of emphasis listed within the Developmental Disabilities Act. The first area is learning. Learning is the area of development where young people take what they learn in school and translate it to other contexts, such as the workplace or social settings. Not only should young people with disabilities be encouraged to strive for academic success, they should also have the ability to approach learning with a strategy for success outside of school. The emphasis here is on linking social, ethical, emotional, physical, and executive functioning development from school to real-world applications and experiences. Connecting is the area of development that includes relationships with elders, peers, supervisors, family, and other community members who commonly influence behavior, skills, and attitudes. The next area is thriving. Thriving is the area of development that recognizes that young people must also have the wherewithal to maintain their physical and emotional health at its highest level. This includes having the social and intellectual competencies to identify environments and situations that could potentially compromise their health. However, the real focus of this area of development is the ability to identify and access those situations that enhance their physical and mental health. The fourth area is working. Working is the area of development that emphasizes young people's need to be actively involved in activities that will expose them to and offer them the opportunity to practice not only actual skills needed for a particular career, but also the work readiness skills to find and maintain employment across their lives. Last, we have leading. Leading is the area of development that centers on positive skills, attitudes, and behaviors around civic involvement and personal goal setting. Youth who are civically engaged in a positive manner, willing to participate in public activity, and able to navigate the civic arena are likely to become adults who participate in civic upkeep. In this case, the term civic can refer to an entire city, a neighborhood, a community, or anything else that implies public environments. All right, so that brings us to our first pause and practice activity. You should have either printed or pulled up on your computer the activity worksheet, which is displayed on the video right here for reference. And what we're going to do is share 2 to 3 practices, programs, supports, or approaches that you think stakeholders can use to facilitate a youth development approach. So drawing from your professional experiences, what are some ways that we can do that? And then once you've shared some of those approaches, practices, recommendations, talk a little bit about how those recommendations align with those 5 key areas of a youth development approach. So how they're being addressed. So once you've completed these 2 questions under part 1 of your worksheet there, you'll come back to this video and resume the video at this point here and continue watching. You won't need to upload anything yet. That'll be at the end of the video. All right, good luck. Get started. All right, now it's time to move to part 2, which focuses on what are effective youth development practices. During this part of the video, we're going to focus on the 8 sub-indicators within youth development. So that includes self-awareness, self-determination, youth engagement in transition planning, disability awareness, self-management skill development, independent living skills, leadership skills, and the significant role of adults. So what is self-awareness? Well, self-awareness is youth being able to understand and share their character, interests, strengths, needs, and goals with others. Ideally, being self-aware results in youth who are able to explain their wants and needs to others, have a better understanding of their strengths and abilities, are better equipped to solve problems, set goals, and accept consequences. It increases their trust in their abilities, qualities, and judgment, strengthens their ability to speak up for what they need, and it helps them to accept differences and understand the needs of others. A few evidence-based practices that can be used to support self-awareness in transition-age youth include the use of student-driven individualized education plans, and we'll talk specifically later on in this video about some strategies and tools that can be used to support that process, as well as some of the outcomes of that process. In addition, we can use age-appropriate transition assessments, which help students to learn about themselves, set goals, and solve problems, but also to use information to make decisions and to identify long-term goals. We can also provide opportunities for students to develop self-awareness by engaging in honest and respectful discussions about their self-determination assessment responses. So, how about disability awareness? Well, disability awareness includes youth understanding their disability, disability rights, and any accommodations or supports that they may need that will contribute to their own success. At different points in this video, we'll highlight some experiences of youth and families related to the sub-indicators that we're discussing. Here we have a young person from the state who shared their success in learning about their disability. So just take a few moments here and read about that rich experience of what disability awareness can look like. Okay, so what is independent living skill development? Well, this is about youth learning how to manage everyday responsibilities for life after high school. This includes them having good health and hygiene, being able to manage their money and pay bills, managing their time and planning for what they need to do, being safe and independent. Ideally, it prepares them to think about and plan for where they want to live. It includes them learning the skills they need to get along with others and take care of themselves. It helps them learn about the kinds of supports they would like to have in living independently within the community. It prepares them to be successful in living on their own or with others in a way that helps them to have the kind of life that they want to have and deserve to have. So some evidence-based practices that we can use to support independent living skill development include, but are not limited to, expecting and supporting students to make many routine choices for themselves throughout the course of the school day, also at home and in the community. And then also using student development practices to support their ability to cook and to maintain their home and to purchase things in the community online, right? And then also teaching those core functional life skills that they need to be successful in living on their own in the community. So here we have another youth success story. This one relates to independent living, and we have a young person talking about their experiences and moving out on their own and what that felt like and how empowering that was. So this is a real story, as all of these success stories are. You can take a moment and just read that, and that'll really help you to contextualize what independent living looks like when it's fully actualized by young people in the community. All right, so what is self-determination skill development? Through self-determination skill development, youth will learn about their disabilities, strengths, and needs. They'll feel proud and confident about who they are, and they'll learn how to request accommodations to help themselves succeed in life after high school. So what does it mean to be self-determined? Well, this involves youth choosing and setting goals and then working to reach them. It includes them advocating for their own behalf while getting involved in solving problems and making decisions about their lives. And then youth making decisions that provide them with opportunities that they want to experience and the supports they need to thrive independently during those experiences. Here we have another success story. This one is from a family member talking about a young person in their family in transition and their experiences around developing self-determination skills. So a few evidence-based practices that we can use to support self-determination skill development in transition age youth include embedding choices into the general curriculum and daily lessons that provide them with opportunities to practice self-determination skills, also teaching them to self-monitor, providing them honest and respectful discussions and feedback about their self-determination assessments and progress, as well as their self-monitoring strategies, and also using the self-determined learning model of instruction. So what is self-management skill development? Well, this is all about young people learning to manage their day-to-day lives, particularly those core executive functioning skills that help them do that. This also includes them practicing to manage their time, so that's developing lessons and giving them opportunities to do that are both in school, home, and the community, so they can learn how to organize and set goals and manage their time and regulate their emotions and relationships with others. In turn, this helps them become problem solvers, and it really helps them to meet the responsibilities of adult life. So some things that we can do that are evidence-based to support young people who are transition age to develop some of these self-management skills include teaching them self-monitoring strategies, which is huge. And then from that, giving them multiple opportunities at school, home, and the community work to try out those strategies. And then ensuring that all students have a functional communication system, as well as working collaboratively with them to facilitate some of those self-monitoring strategies in a way that helps them achieve their goals, both short and long term. So leadership skill development is something that happens over time. It begins with young people learning about others, including their experiences, what they need, what their goals are, and the world around them, as well as that academic knowledge gained through school. Then developing critical thinking skills that help them draw upon what they know about the world and others to help them and to help themselves grow. But they can't help others and help themselves grow if they don't have strong communication skills. So in order to lead, youth need to learn how to get their message through clearly. And part of this is youth understanding that if people do not feel understood or cannot understand them, then they feel frustrated, they may ignore them, they may feel excluded, or they might do something unrelated to their goal. So youth also need to understand that if people do feel understood and can understand them, then they will feel included, they'll work harder, and they'll be more likely to help them to achieve their goals. So youth leaders understand that communication is a two-way street, and this really serves as the foundation for future advocacy. So youth who have strong communication skills understand this process of converting information that they know about the world, about what they want to do, and what they've translated through critical thinking activities in a way that'll be understood by their desired audience, but also understanding that what they say is filtered through the environment, through the context, through perception and barriers in society before it gets to the individuals. And then on the flip side, they understand that individuals are trying to convey to them through words, through body language, through motion, feedback about whatever they're trying to express to them, right? So if they're communicating these ideas to a person, young people also need to understand and be looking for that feedback from the people that they're speaking to. Because the idea is that they then draw upon that additional information to improve their own critical thinking, and it becomes this process that helps them to continually learn and grow by interacting with others. So once they have strong communication skills, the question is, what do they communicate? Well, youth leaders communicate organization, so goals and plans. They communicate their drive and their growth mindset to achieve something. They communicate their character, and they communicate acceptance. And in communicating these concepts to those who they work with and they support, youth leaders begin to embody leadership and advocacy. Here we have another great youth success story, and this one is all about youth leadership. So you can take a moment here and read from a young person in the state about their experiences in being a leader. So what is youth engagement in transition planning? This involves youth as partners with families and stakeholders who have authority over the process of planning all the aspects of their transition to adult life, and they have the knowledge and skills and access to do so. So youth engagement in transition planning is a process of scaffolded support, and it exists on a continuum. So just as we teach students to build skills towards bigger goals, all while increasing their independence and ownership of their own learning, we're going to do the same thing in a youth engagement approach so that we support young people in being active leaders in their transition to adult life. So what does this look like? Well, this involves, first, ongoing opportunities for youth to learn about their strengths, challenges, needs, and interests, and the skills to effectively express them. Then providing youth opportunities to give input on their goals and answer any questions about their transition plans. Next, we have youth setting the agenda of the meeting. So this could be a transition planning or IEP meeting. And then youth presenting on their plan, goals, interests, needs, and accommodations. At this point in the youth engagement continuum, we're really starting to embody a youth-led IEP process. And then our final stage here of the continuum is youth writing sections of their transition plan in collaboration with their family and stakeholders who support them, and then youth facilitating most or all of their planning meetings. So this is really where youth take a direct role in not only those conversations, but the work that happens outside of the meetings as well. So student-led IEPs, as we just mentioned, are a critical component of this growth process and this engagement process. We see that student-led IEP and youth engagement are not exclusive to just the meetings themselves, and that true, authentic youth engagement is always happening. It's embedded in instruction, practice. It leads to a process that builds skills across the sub-indicators of youth development, and then it supports them in applying what they've learned in their lives so they can take full ownership of the planning process. So why is youth engagement important to help youth develop and grow? Well, when youth development opportunities occur earlier, such as middle school, students are provided additional time to support and engage their education, make decisions, set goals, and advocate for their needs. And through this focused engagement, we can help support youth to support themselves. And we know that by doing so, we reduce the likelihood of dropout, and we help them stay toward a path towards course completion and post-school success. Youth becoming leaders in the transition planning process is a team effort that includes both families and stakeholders working together. So families can talk to their young people about their disability. They can share their own experiences and knowledge about the IEP and transition planning process, and help their young people to better understand and navigate that process. They can support their youth's engagement in that process by nurturing growth and development across the sub-indicators that we've been talking about, so self-awareness, disability awareness, self-management, leadership skills, and self-determination. Stakeholders can help students become familiar with the IEP and transition planning vocabulary and the components of this process. They can help students become familiar with education and special education rights that relate to that transition planning process. They can share and explain IEP and transition data in a way that empowers youth to know more about themselves and their progress towards their goals and their plans for adult life. They can work with students outside of meetings to help them create presentations and develop skills they need to be active participants and leaders in the planning process. So, in working to support students in developing presentations about themselves, so that it can include what their goals are, what they've accomplished, their growth, and their expectations, stakeholders should use universal design and assistive technology to support that process. So that prep time is really key and instructional time is a must. Stakeholders can also use some of these evidence-based practices that we've been talking about in this video to support youth engagement by nurturing their growth and development. And these are those same key areas that families are working with young people outside of the school and in the community to support. Stakeholders can also have conversations with both youth and their family members about laws and protections and supports and policies related to pre-graduation and post-graduation. And here we have another success story. This time it's a family member talking about their young person and their experiences in becoming an active participant and a leader in the transition planning and IEP process. So you can take a moment and read that and learn about their experiences. All right, it's time for our second pause and practice. So just like before, you're going to need that one-page worksheet. You're going to be answering these 3 questions related to effective youth development practices. So what you want to do is pause this video at this time, work on your 3 questions, and once you've completed them, you can come back to this video and resume it, and then we'll continue onward. So what makes adult roles significant? Well, ideally, significant adults take an individualized approach to getting to know youth and how to work best with them. That means meeting them where they are in their lives. Significant adults help youth to continue to learn about themselves. So that means recognizing their dreams, strengths, talents, needs, and goals. Significant adults also encourage youth to make decisions and solve problems so that they can start to have their own voice in their transition planning process and throughout their lives. Significant adults will provide honest feedback when young people are making decisions and solving problems to help them as mentors to get through those challenges and failures, and helping them learn that failures and challenges are unbelievable learning experiences and how to capitalize on that. So bringing it all together here, we see that the foundation of all the work we do to support youth development is focused on those relationships that young people have in the school and in the community and at home with significant peers and adults. So those relationships, this idea of social capital being the key to opportunity, is really key in youth development. And having those significant relationships puts us in a much better position to support youth engagement in the transition planning process. So this engagement in the transition planning process builds across these 6 areas, and building these skill areas improves engagement in the transition planning process. So we see it's a reciprocal process where if you support their engagement, they'll build their skills in these areas, but also building these skills increases their engagement. And as that engagement continues to increase, young people move to a place where they start becoming self-advocates. Phew, wasn't that a great dive into the how behind a youth development approach to transition? Hey, before we wrap things up, we'd like to do one final pause and practice. So from everything we've just learned in this video, we know that youth engagement in transition planning is a team effort. We've got this question of what are the actions that families and stakeholders can take to support youth in becoming leaders and self-advocates in this transition planning process? And then on the flip side, what are the actions that families and stakeholders can take to support each other in supporting young people? So take some time and think about it and write your answers down on your worksheet. And once you've completed it, we ask that you upload that document as proof of completion of this course within Schoology. If you need a refresher on how to do that, you can head back into the Schoology course. And under the Navigating This Course folder, there are directions on how to upload your finished document. Over the course of this video, we've been talking all about the sub-indicators that support youth development. These sub-indicators can align with efforts that are ongoing to collect I statements and to help students create portfolio artifacts that help them to demonstrate their growth, knowledge, and skills related to the PA Career Readiness Standards.